And welcome back to this exciting tutorial. This is part 4 of the particle city, recreating a Blade Runner style city using particles in Blender 2.81. Let's get into it. All right, so welcome back. It's been a little bit of a break for me. I've had a bit of a holiday over Christmas and New Year's, so thanks for being patient. But I'm getting back into it now at last, and we're going to get back onto the weekly release schedule, I'm hoping, so no more delays on getting through the rest of this series. So today what we're going to do is have a look at our traffic patterns. We're going to begin to do what we need to do to set up multiple lanes of traffic. So if you've been experimenting on your own, you may have run into that wall that if you duplicate the spline and create a new particle system, they all start affecting each other. So we're going to separate the way those effectors work so that we can have separate lines of traffic. Then we're also going to go in and create some variation in our cars. And also then finally, hopefully we've got time, we're going to go into the material for the cars themselves so that we can create some kind of procedural system that changes the variations in the texture and the way that the cars look, the paint job, so that we've got lots of different types of cars that have different types of colors and lights and in our scene. So that's a lot to get through. So let's jump into it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is start setting up our separate traffic patterns. Also, too, let me know in the comments. I've increased my UI scale a little bit, so we've gone from 1.3 to 1.5. I'm hoping this helps out with those of you that are checking things out on your mobile phone or tablet. Just let me know in the comments if you feel like this is helping at all. If I should go a bit further with it. If I go too much further, it just gets a bit bad, I think, for a desktop viewer. So I'm just trying to find a good happy medium. So let me know what you think. I'll just keep tweaking with that. Hopefully we'll get somewhere that everybody can see it and enjoy it. All right, so we have our traffic pattern. First thing I'm gonna do, because we're gonna create a lot more cars, I'm just gonna decrease the number of particles that I have shooting out. So right now we're at 5,000. I'm gonna pop this down to 1,000. And we can affect this later and turn these up a bit, but just for speed of use right now, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And next thing I want to do is I'm going to create a collection just for this particular lane of traffic. So we've got traffic flow and traffic emitter. I'm going to grab those guys. I'm going to create a new collection. There it is. And we're going to call this traffic.00. And I'll grab both of these guys and drag them in. Right there. Bam. All right, now I can right click on this and say duplicate collection. It's going to call it traffic.001 automatically. And now I've got 2 more traffic emitters. Now, everything about these traffic emitters are linked to these traffic emitters. So we need to start separating things out. So let's grab the emitter first and we'll move it up on the Z value, on the Z plane. And then we'll grab our spline that controls the traffic. And just so we can, really be clear on what's happening, I'm just going to grab this spline and we'll just drag it over here. Just do something crazy with it. Now, if I hit play, you'll notice that some weird stuff's happening over here. Basically both splines are affecting all the particles, which we don't want. So let's, I'm gonna turn off the city just so it's easier to see our cars. There we go. Now let's take this first particle system. And first thing we want to do is see how it says under the particle settings, we've got the name of the particle system, traffic.001, and there's a number 2 next to it. If you remember from previous tutorials, that means that there are 2 users of these settings. And of course, the 2 users are traffic emitter 00 and traffic emitter 001. We want to separate these out so they're separate settings so we can control them independently. So what I'll do is with the first traffic, actually first what I'll do is I'll switch over to, I think we need to change something for both of them. Yeah, okay, so for our render, we've got object selected. We're going to switch this to collection because eventually we're going to switch and every car that's in our car collection is going to be a particle. So we want to switch it from single object, which was just referencing car.001. We're going to now reference the cars collection, just so in the future we can add in a bunch more. That way we can create a couple of traffic patterns and then not have to go back and redo this step. All right, back up to the top. So let's go ahead and click with the emitter selected. Let's click here, the number 2. That'll get rid of it and makes this a single user. So now we can change these values independently of this emitter. This will be separate. So you can see this one's called 001 and this one is now called 00. Blender always starts with 3 zeros for its naming number conventions. So if you start with the 001, it's automatically going to go to that, and then it'll be 002 when you make another one, just so you know. All right. Now, first thing I want to do is go down to, where are we? Field weights. All right. So field weights, that's right, field weights. We want to set, so we have this option here to select an effector collection. So we want to select the collection that contains the effector that we want to affect this particle system, which is going to be traffic flow .30. So that's here, this one, right? This is the collection. So let's go to our emitter and we'll select 001. Okay, and then let's go to this one and let's do the same, but we'll select 000, which is the name of the collection that this one is in. Now, if I hit play, you can see that they're acting independently. We've got this group goes off this way and this group goes off this way. So we're in business. Okay, so we can do lots of stuff. Let's create like an alternating group that's coming through the scene. I'm gonna grab both of these guys and I'll rotate them on the Z-axis. We'll go 180. And I will grab them on the X and drag them over here. I'll turn my city back on so I've got the reference of where the traffic flows should be coming from. And let's have this group come, we'll have this group coming down through this lane here and turning the corner. So I'll rotate it on the Z, 90. Grab it on the X, grab it on the Y, and then I'll just kind of line it up, bring it down into here, and there we go. And then let's get our spline. And actually we might want to move this group back just a little bit more. I'm just not sure where our camera, let's see how wide our view is. Yeah, we won't see any of that. I'm just making sure we're not going to see where the cars begin. And we can bring them down a bit lower, I think. Oops. So just to help us see things a little bit better, let's select our city tiles collection and just click on the hide from viewport. That way we can just see the raw geometry of our emitter for the city. All right, so let's hit tab and let's grab this vertex here and we will grab it on the x-axis and bring it right there. And we are just going to kind of line this guy up so that he's flying towards the other group of cars. And I might grab this and drag it over a little bit this way. We'll have to see how bad they intersect. Let's jump into our camera. Let's have a look at that. So that looks really cool. You can see the 2 lanes. Now, of course, the problem here is going to be if we've got any cars that intersect our platform. But it doesn't looks like we got lucky there. You may have to roll the seed a few times to kind of get that right. But that looks nice. All right. Now, next thing I want to do is, I had a thought that would be cool. If we grab this emitter and this spline, and well, actually, let's just go to the group because we'll need that. Let's duplicate that collection. And for this one, just repeat the steps we did before. So first, let's make it its own particle system. I'm going to decrease its particles down to maybe 500. And my thought was to take the life of this one and have it. So they're going twice as fast. And the effect should be that you've got like some cars, yeah, that are going really quick and other cars that are going slow, and they're mixing together. That looks nice. All right, cool. And all right, next, let's maybe do some, I feel like we could have some in the sky. I feel like that might work well. I want to make sure I don't get too many particles, because if I start, if I kill the system, it's just not going to be fun. So let's half this group, go down to 500, and this other group, let's take that one to 500 too. All right, let's get some in the sky. So take my traffic 00, duplicate the collection. It's just adding up the numbers. Now we got traffic 3 is the new one. So let's grab these guys, move them up, and I'm going to have it kind of flying across the scene this way. So rotate on the Z, oh, -90. Rotate Z, -90. Grab it on the X, and grab it on the Y. Now this one will have to start off camera because we can see, we won't have the geometry won't be blocking our view. And I might bring them down. And then let's change the spline direction for this one. Might just make this one go straight. So delete these vertices. Let's see how that looks if we go into our camera. And for this one, we need to actually change our traffic flow. The last one didn't matter. Where's the... Oh, that's right, I'm in edit mode. There we go. Now let's see, where are we at? Let's change the effector to, this is group 3. There we are. Now one thing could be cool is if they like actually swooping down and merging. I wonder if that's, might have it had to end up with too many cars in our view. All right, let's get one more lateral group going. So I'll take this, duplicate the collection. Let's find it, traffic 4, rotate on the Z180. And then we're gonna put this one, move it right down, right there. Find where we go down. Yeah, that'll work. I might just slip it like that. And I think I need to extend that out just a little bit more so we don't see the end. Good. All right. And now let's take the emitter and once again, just change the effector collection. And something's not right. What's right? Traffic flow, traffic. What's going on? Oh, I forgot to, right. So if we change that back to 3, that one's going to be going along there. And then we just need to select this one and, yep, you got to keep remembering to change the particle, increasing the, have to remember to keep making this a single user so we can change our settings. All right, back to 4. There we go. Now we got it. All right, let's have a look at what this is all looking like. It's pretty good. Don't see anything intersecting. They look clean. Awesome. All right, I am feeling like it'd be really cool and dynamic if this group moved down. So let's hit the tab button and let's hit A to select all, and then we're going to subdivide. So subdivide, there we go. Very conveniently, there's the vertice that we want. Oh no, there it is. And then let's grab this along the y-axis, the Z, and then take the endpoint grab it along the X and the Y, bring it right over. To scale down those those handles. Bring this one down. I can get my camera and let's have him turn down this lane. So hit E to extrude and just grab it off. There, grab both of those, grab it on the X, just slide it out. And I'll just tuck it down like that so we can't really see. And then this one, what I want to do is create something that looks sort of like this, I think. And I'll bring this one down. Let's just see how that looks. Turn off our objects. Now we get this cool bunch of cars kind of like banking down into traffic. Oh, they really zoom around the corner there. That's a bit too fast. So we can fix the speed there by dragging this one out. That, I'm pretty sure. Or it could just be because of the curve. Yeah, I think it might have been because of the curve. How are they going? Sweet. It's a bit harsh, that turn. It's probably not the best best solution. Let's see if we can get it to look better. Turn that off again, just to kind of see clearly. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. Cool. All right. Now I just want to increase the numbers of cars a little bit. I think it feels a bit low at 500. We'll see how well everything fares with the computer. If it crashes or not. So let's turn this one up to 1,000. Turn this one too. Let's do all of them. All right, now let's see how that looks. If I change the lifetime random, that should give us variation in speed within the group. Yeah, that does. That's actually pretty good. About 0.5 works pretty well. So let's see, 0.5 on that one. Traffic emitter, 0.5 lifetime random. Okay, cool. So we've got our traffic nouns working pretty well. All right, so let's jump into creating our material variations and also the car variations for these guys. And I'm seeing little jittery bugs. Some of these cars are kind of like flipping out on that turn. So I might have to go in at another point and fix that up. So I might tweak these a little bit just to try and get them right, but I'm gonna do that now. All right, also just so you know, there's a bit of a bug that I've been running into and I haven't found a solution for it yet. And that's if at this point we've got so much going on in our scene. If I switch over to Eevee and go to render, I just get a white screen. You might run into that too. Now I had a bit of success getting it to work by like creating a new scene and then appending this scene into it, or creating a new file, a new project file. And then I would go File, Append, and I'd select this project file and then bring in the scene from it. And that worked for a little bit, but now it's not working anymore. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I need to, do a bit more research to figure it out. But my guess is it has something to do with the amount of stuff that we've got going on, the amount of particles. So if you run into that, that's what's going on. And hey, if you find a solution, link me in the comments. It'd be great to figure out what's going on there and how to get it to go away. Okay, so to work on our cars, let's go ahead and hide our city. And we also can hide all of our traffic. Minimize all these guys. Just turn off all of our traffic. And we can also hide our city tiles. And here's our car. Turn on our stuff so we can see it. Now I want to go ahead. I want to make sure these are all out of the way. So let's hit grab and Z just to bring it down below the geometry so we don't end up seeing this later accidentally. So just hit the full stop key to focus in on it. Okay, so to get this to work, I've had a couple of ideas. One of them was that we would, actually create a particle generator and use the surface and create just a couple of like mechanical parts and have them sort of emitted on the surface. That kind of worked as a test. I tried it out, but in the end, you have to go through the same process we did with the city tiles. So you have to generate the particles, and then you would have to, mess with the seed to get it looking right, and then you would have to then, make those particles real objects, and then merge them in with the car itself. And because we're not working on thousands of objects, it was kind of like I would use the particle to generate one or two particles, add a bit pieces, some pieces on. It just was a bit like it was redundant, wasn't necessary. It was far quicker just to kind of create some pieces and throw them onto the car themselves. But one way that I think works really well is actually to use the deformation modifier to deform the shape of the car in a lot of different ways. So let's get started. I'm going to open up my cars section, select my car, and hit Shift D, and I'm going to grab it on the Y. So we've got two to work with. We'll keep this one as is. And this one, I want to select a couple of different faces, and we're only going to deform those particular faces. So I'm going to switch to face selection mode, and I'll just start selecting a couple like this. Maybe these as well. And to the bottom of the car. And the back. Like that. Okay. We'll start with this and see how it looks. Actually, I might grab those two. Okay. And these. Perfect. Okay, so now we go down to this little icon here for the geometry information, and we're going to create a new vertex group. So with those faces selected, just click the plus key, and it's going to give a new group. We're going to call this, let's see, car variation. And I'm going to click assign. So now it's just assigned these polygons to this group. So, or these vertexes, sorry. So all the vertexes that are selected within these faces are now assigned to this. So I can test that by clicking, assign. I can go deselect and then select, and you can see it will select them for us. Okay, now what we can do now is jump over into the modifier stack, and I can get out of edit mode, and I can create a new modifier. We're going to grab the, where is it? Displace modifier. That's what I meant, not deformation, displace. And we're going to select the vertex group that we've made, so car variation. Now it's only going to affect the ones that we've added to that group. So you can see it's not affecting the windows or the glowy bits. Now let's go ahead and click on new for a new texture, and we'll click this button to go into the texture tab, just the quick texture tab button. And we'll just start with Veroni. And cool, so you can see already it just creates this like really neat variation of the car. So now I'm going to, we'll keep it. So we can just like change these a little bit and get some really, really cool things going on. Let's switch to rendered view. That's pretty cool. And I'll just change things like the mid-level and the strength. And then we can just click this guy and hit Shift D, grab him on the Y. And now we can do other things, like we can go in and add to the vertex group. So let's see what happens when we add let's add the windows this time. Let's hit C for brush selection tool. Pretty sure that's, just select all these things, that's fine. And also I'll add in this thing. All right, so let's go to the group and let's assign those. I'm just hit select. Yeah, cool. It's kept everything as well. All right, so now if we go out, you can see it's really gonna mess with it. It's starting to look like the Batmobile from Batman Begins. It's pretty cool. All right. And the point of this is just to create variation at a distance. It's not to make stuff that's going to look great up close, because we're never really going to get up close with these guys. But you can see, like, from the back, it looks like we've got 3 different types of vehicles. It's all right. It's a bit extreme, but I'll keep it. Hit Shift D, grab it on the Y, and let's make another one. Oh, that's a cool looking one. Sweet. This one I might also, I'll add in the wheels. That's right, I can just add him in. Let's see what that does. Wow, that's intense. Probably a little too much. I don't know, that's kind of cool though. From a distance it looks nice. Let's go back to our base one, or this one actually. Bring this one over here. And let's make a really fat one. Back to our modifier stack, and I'm going to increase my mid-level up. And see what happens if we flip it with the mirror modifier. Yeah, no, it's better having it above the mirror modifier, because that kind of duplication is really makes it look right. Look at that. Let's get this giant thing sticking up in the middle. All right, that's some cool variation, cool different types of cars. But now the next thing we need to do to end up with even more variation is to change up the paint job and the lights. Because right now it's going to look really uniform to have all this, the same across the whole thing. Now to do this, we're going to do a little trick. So let's switch over to, let's start with the car lights themselves. And we're going to split our view. So I'll just grab this guy and bring it over. And we're going to switch over to our shader. Where are we at? Shader editor. There we go. So right now, the car light, we've got car light selected. It's a very simple shader. It's really just using the emission, this red color, to drive everything. But we want to make that different on a subtle level for each of these different vehicles. So to do that, let's go and grab a special node called what's it called? Geometry. Yep. No, that's not what we want. A special node called particle info. That's it. Because each of these guys becomes a particle, right? When we fire it out of our emitter. And each particle in a particle system has an index. So every one says a number. So, we've got 1,000 particles shooting out of our emitter. So each particle is given a number by the computer. So the first one is 1 and the last one's 1,000, right? So that's baked into the information of each particle. So we can use that to actually drive things in the shader editor. So the index is going to be different for each car that gets spit out by the emitter. So if we want to have a slight variation in the headlights for all these guys, we can use that to make that happen. So next thing we're going to need is a texture coordinate, like we usually do. And now we're going to bring up a vector math. So type in vector math. And we're going to use the index, and we're going to use the generated texture coordinate. And what this is doing is it's taking the texture coordinate for the object. So, what is the value of each position on the object itself that it can use then to place a texture on the object. And then it's adding in this index. Index is not a vector. It's just a single value, but it's using that still, and it's adding it all together. So basically all this is going to do, it's kind of a messy way of just shifting the texture coordinates for each of these based on what its index is. So it's going to just shift it a little bit each time. Now what we can do is grab something that has variation across the whole surface of itself. So a noise texture, like the Voronoi texture is a good one. And if we decrease the scale right down, I'll pop in this vector here, and I'll go ahead and show you. What we'll do is we'll get one more node. We'll get a color ramp. There we go. Move that over just a touch. And we can grab this. I will just grab the color and put it into the factor. And then this one, we're going to connect the color up with emission. And we can make this first one bright red like we had. And then let's just, for demonstrations, we'll make this one blue. And then right now it's linear, right? So you can see what it's done is it's creating this linear variation between those two colors. If we switch this to constant, now it's like a hard stop when it hits the other color, okay? It's a cool way to create like a cop car kind of thing. You could animate these actually changing and flashing over time, so that could be really fun. But if I change my scale now, so right now it's 5. If we go all the way, let's try 1. You can go even smaller, try 0.1. Now what it's going to do is it's going to be so big that as you're shifting things over, you're probably only ever going to see one solid color. And that's what's happening here. We're seeing all red. But because it's using the index, if I switch, oops, lost it. If I switch back over to my, let's see, we'll bring on our traffic. We'll look at one of these traffic. It's pretty small, bit hard to tell, but you can see as you zoom in that, so this car is blue, right? Zoom out a little bit, these now have red. Okay, and if we want to create even more variation on these, if I select back to car light, or car light texture, I could do things like increasing the scale, maybe to 0.5. Now you're going to get a little bit of red and a little bit of blue, but it's going to be different for every particle. So you can see like all these cars now have, different variations of, so that one's got 2 blue at the front. This one's got a blue and a red up here at the top. So it's a cool way to really create that kind of that variation. So now what we can do is we can jump in here and hit the plus sign and create a couple of different types of colors for our lights. So now we're going to do the same thing for the car paint. So we select, go back to car light, and we can select this system. So box select those guys, hit Command C or Apple C, switch over to the car paint, Command V, and we're going to connect this one up to the base color. Now instantly we're going to get all these like hypercolor cars. And you can see our base particles, which are the guys hiding down here, they're staying all the same because remember, they're not particles. So this effect only takes place once it becomes a particle. So let's pick some colors that make more sense for our cars. We want to make sure that everything's kind of dark. And if we do have any bright colors, we'll only kind of bring them in subtly. So like a little bit of a blue swatch on some of those is cool. I might make like a sort of a brownish color. Yeah, cool. So you can see like because we're moving so quickly and we're not seeing everything all the time, you're getting this nice like sort of out of focus bit for like this guy. Just creates a nice shape, a nice outline. It creates a variation, creates a sense of, oh, this is a different type of vehicle. But there's similarities amongst all of them. So it really just begins to make a cohesive feel. And I might take the blue and just make it a kind of red. So they're all in that general wheelhouse. I think that aesthetically it might look a bit better. The blue is really kind of a bit strong too, a bit too saturated, I think. So I'm going to bring the saturation of the blue down. That looks a bit better. With the cars, I might try now just changing the scale. Might bring it up to 1, just to put even more difference in the paint jobs. Yeah, sweet. All right, so that's how we do it. So you can use this trick to do all kinds of cool stuff with particles. It's just sort of the tip of the iceberg, using it, to create variation in your texture or material. But overall, I think this is really going to look good. we're going to do something similar to the texture of the buildings as well, creating some variation there, using the same kind of technique, just so we don't have all the same colored light. And then once we're done with all of that, we can really start focusing in on our hero cars and getting that part of the scene work and getting our platform sorted. And then we'll move into the environment and kind of finishing off our lighting and the overall look of the scene and getting things like the environmental sort of atmospheric effects really coming together. So I hope you're excited to carry on. I know I am. Anyways, thanks for watching, and hope that you're learning lots through this process. Let me know what you think in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe and ring the bell so you get those notifications to find out when the next one launches. Again, I'm going to be pushing pretty hard to get back into the weekly update schedule with this stuff. So hope you stay tuned. Thanks as always. I will catch you later.